There is a reason exclusion can feel heavy in the chest before you have even decided what it means. Research suggests that social rejection can involve some of the same brain regions as physical pain, which may be why telling yourself to toughen up does not make it stop hurting. It is not always a dramatic rejection. Sometimes it is much smaller than that. A photograph from a dinner you did not know happened. A group that seems to have formed quietly without you. Or an invitation that did not come, even though you thought you were close enough to be included. The body often understands the exclusion before the mind has decided what story to tell about it. The chest tightens, heat moves up through the face. Then the rational part arrives and starts protecting your dignity. It says, do not be childish. It says you are too old to care about this and you have survived harder things than a missing invitation. But it still hurt. This episode is about the hurt adults often dismiss because it feels embarrassing. Not heartbreak, not betrayal, not public humiliation. The smaller social pain, the private sting of being left out, overlooked, or not quite counted. This is not another warning about loneliness being bad for you, because that argument is too broad for the moment we are looking at. The question here is more specific. Why can a social moment feel physical? And why can a minor exclusion land in the body before it becomes a thought? And why does telling yourself to be sensible sometimes fail so completely? The answer is not that you are weak, it is not that you are needy, and it is not that adulthood should have made you immune to wanting inclusion. The research points toward a more serious and kinder explanation. Social pain is a signal. It is part of a system that evolved to notice when connection may be at risk. That does not mean the signal is always accurate. It means the signal deserves interpretation before contempt. The central finding comes from Naomi Eisenberger, Matthew Lieberman, and Kipling Williams. In 2003, they published a study in Science with a title that sounds almost too direct. Does rejection hurt? The study used a virtual ball-tossing game called Cyberball. Participants believed they were playing with other people while lying in an fMRI scanner. At first, the ball came to them and they were part of the game. Then the other players stopped throwing it to them. Nothing loud happened, no one insulted them, and no one explained why. They were simply left out. That simplicity is part of why the study matters for this episode. The researchers were not recreating a divorce, a public rejection, or a lifelong pattern of isolation. They were studying a small moment of exclusion. The brain scans showed increased activity in a region called the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex during exclusion. That region is also involved in the distress component of physical pain. The researchers were not saying social and physical pain are identical. They were saying the systems can overlap, which means the hurt is not purely metaphorical. That sample was small, 13 participants. That needs to be said plainly because precision matters here. But the finding did not stay alone. The finding has been studied many times since in different forms and held up well enough to become one of the most cited findings in social neuroscience. Later work did not make the claim simpler. It made it more nuanced. The strongest version is not that rejection and injury are the same thing. They are not. The stronger claim is that parts of the social pain system and parts of the physical pain system can overlap. That overlap is enough to change how we understand the private moment. When exclusion feels heavy in the chest, the body may not be making a metaphor. It may be registering social threat through systems that also help register physical distress. Kipling Williams spent decades studying ostracism. His work matters because ostracism can be quiet. It can be the silence of not being addressed. It can be the room moving on without you. In a 2007 review in Annual Review of Psychology, Williams described ostracism as a threat that can produce reflexive pain and distress. He argued that being ignored or excluded threatens needs like belonging, self-esteem, control, and a sense that one's presence matters. Again, that does not require a dramatic scene. Sometimes the nervous system reacts to absence. A 2015 meta-analysis by Chris Hartgerink, Ilya van Beest, Jelte Wischertz, and Kipling Williams looked across 120 cyberball studies with over 11,800 participants. The researchers found a large average ostracism effect across many versions of the game. That matters because the laboratory version is almost absurdly simple. It is only a virtual ball that stops coming your way. Yet across many studies, people still respond. That tells us something important about adult dignity. Dignity can sit on top of a nervous system that is still deeply social. You can be educated, capable, calm, and materially secure. You can have a mortgage, a career, grown children, responsibilities, and good judgment. And a small cue of exclusion can still register as meaningful. Ethan Cross and colleagues added another layer in 2011. In a Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences study, 40 adults who had recently experienced an unwanted romantic breakup looked at images connected to that rejection while also undergoing painful heat trials. That study found overlap between intense social rejection and physical pain in regions connected not only to distress, but also to sensory aspects of pain. That does not mean every ordinary social disappointment is the same as a breakup. It means the broader research keeps pointing in the same direction. Human social pain is not decorative language, it has a body. The evolutionary theory helps explain why. In 2005, Jeff McDonald and Mark Leary argued in Psychological Bulletin that social exclusion may hurt because social bonds carried survival value. For most of human history, connection was not a lifestyle preference. It was protection, information, food, care, status, mating, parenting, and safety. If losing the group could become dangerous, then a system that made exclusion feel urgent had value. Pain pulls attention. Pain says something important may be at risk. That is not an argument for obeying every social ache. It is an argument for not shaming yourself for having one. Robert sees the photograph on a Sunday evening. It is not sent to him. It appears in the background of someone else's update. 5 people from the old office are sitting around a table he recognizes. They are smiling in the unposed way people smile when the evening is already warm. Robert knows all of them. 2 of them used to stop by his office just to talk. No one has done anything unforgivable. That is what makes the moment harder to name. There is no villain. There is just the sudden fact that the dinner happened without him. Before Robert has a thought, his chest changes. Something tightens, and his face gets warm. Then the explanation machine begins. Maybe it was spontaneous. Maybe they thought he was busy. Maybe he had not kept up his side either. Within seconds, the harsher sentence arrives. Do not be ridiculous. You are not a teenager. It was only dinner. Carol has a different version of the same moment. She has been going to a community class for 6 months. She likes the people there, and she has been careful not to seem too eager. One afternoon, she realizes several of them now go for coffee afterwards. It has clearly become a routine. The invitation never reached her. Again, nothing dramatic has happened. No one stood at the door and turned her away. But her body reacts before she can protect herself with reason. There is heat, then heaviness, then the quick impulse to act as if she never wanted to go. This is the moment the research dignifies. Not by making Robert or Carol victims, not by telling them that every social slight is a crisis, but by saying that the first bodily signal is not proof of weakness. It is the social alarm system noticing possible exclusion. The practical move is not to suppress the signal, it is to separate the signal from the story that arrives after it. The signal is the chest tightening. The story is, I am unwanted. The signal is the heat in the face. The story is, I should have known better than to try. The signal is the drop in the stomach. The story is, everyone else belongs more naturally than I do. Those are not the same thing. The signal may be real without the story being complete. This matters because self-sufficient adults often skip the signal and attack the self. They do not say, something hurt. They say, I should not care. They do not say, this touched a human need. They say, I am being too sensitive. That second move adds shame to pain. It turns a social alarm into a private character indictment. A better first response is quieter. Name the signal without accepting the harshest story. Something in me registered that. That is enough for the first moment. Not they all hate me, not I must confront everyone, not I should withdraw before anyone sees I cared. Just something in me registered that. Then you can ask the second question. What is actually known here? Robert knows a dinner happened. but he does not yet know why he was not invited. Carol knows the coffee group exists. She does not yet know whether she was intentionally excluded, accidentally missed, or simply outside a routine that formed before anyone thought carefully about it. This is not a trick to make the pain vanish. It is a way to stop pain from becoming a verdict. The signal asks for attention. The story asks for evidence. That distinction gives you back a little room. In that room, you may decide to reach out, let the moment pass, or decide that this group is not where your effort belongs. But the decision comes after interpretation, not after self-contempt. The deeper point is that social pain belongs to an old human system. For most of our history, being connected was not optional decoration. It was how people survived weather, hunger, illness, danger, parenting, aging, and grief. So the nervous system learned to care about belonging. It learned to notice distance. It learned that being outside the circle could matter. The modern dinner photo is not the ancestral savannah, but the alarm system did not evolve for modern nuance. That sentence matters because it makes room for two truths at once. The dinner photo may not be an emergency, and the feeling may still be real. The coffee invitation may not define Carol's worth. The ache may still deserve kindness. The pain is not proof that you are fragile. It is evidence that connection matters to the human nervous system, and it always has. Once you understand that, the aim changes. You do not have to become someone who never feels exclusion. You become someone who can feel the signal without immediately turning it against yourself. The next time a small exclusion lands in your body, notice the order. First the signal, then the story. Then the shame if you let it come in too quickly. You do not have to make the moment bigger than it is. You also do not have to pretend it missed you. Some part of you noticed a possible loss of connection. That is not childish, that is human. And if the research gives you anything useful, let it give you this pause. Before you tell yourself to toughen up, before you decide you are ridiculous, before you turn pain into self-criticism, ask one cleaner question. What is this signal trying to protect? If this is the kind of question you want to keep thinking about carefully, the Connection Letter is a free weekly research digest I send every Saturday. One finding, one thing to try, one question. The link is in the description.